What's going on, everybody? All right, so put out a video a little while back about my new bow that I got. I got the GNAT from Joey Greenwell over at G Strings Bowstrings. Most people have heard of them, but if you haven't, G Strings makes bow fishing strings for bow fishing bows, but they also make custom bows. They make what they call the GNAT and the G-Rex. The GNAT is a camless bow, and the G-Rex has a cam systems in them, but it's still a lever bow. So I went with the GNAT because of the simplicity, and I wanted to put some time on this bow before I did a review of it. And I've been shooting this bow for about a year now, and I am ready to go ahead and give a review on this. So the first day that I took this bow out, very first fish was out there probably, I'm not even going to give a distance, but he was out there. That fish was quite a ways away from the boat, and never shot the bow at a fish before, so I said screw it, and I just basically aimed right at the fish. Typically with the other bows that I've used over the years, I would have to, you know, raise up a little bit on the fish, shoot above it, because, you know, the arrow would arc as it's coming in. I chose to just aim right at the fish, and when I released, man, I nailed that fish, and the flight path of the arrow coming out of this bow was just as straight as can be. There was no arcing to the flight path of the arrow, and so right off the bat, very first fish, I was very impressed with this bow. And I think that first experience really gave me the confidence using this bow, and I fell in love with it. So the thing about the GNAT that I really like, just besides shooting it, is the distance, the length of the bow. From tip to tip, this thing is short. That was one of the first impressions that I had of this bow. As soon as I took it out of the box, the distance from tip to tip, it was so short. And I'm a short dude, and so when I have a railing on the deck of my boat, and when I would draw my other bows that were longer, you know, I would have to be careful that my limb didn't hit the railing. This bow is so short that that's not a concern, even with me being as short as I am. So that was just another characteristic of this bow that I really appreciated. And again, the simplicity. This is a camless bow. It's only got the power cables. And I really like the simplicity of that, not having to worry about the cams and all of that. When it comes time to tear the bow down, clean it, and put it back together, I typically tear my bows down in the winter, completely clean them, and you know, put some lubrication on them, you know, fix anything that's broke, and get it ready for the next season. And with this bow, not having cams and timing cables and all of that, just makes that process so much easier. That's just another thing about this bow that I really like. You know, when I was trying to decide what bow I wanted to go with, so I'd been shooting an RPM Nitro for about 2 years, and I love that bow. Nothing against the RPM Nitro. I highly recommend, if you're looking to get into the lever bow, excuse me, if you're looking to get into the lever bow world, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the RPM Nitro or Striker. I really like that company, but I wanted to try something new. I just, you know, there's lots of bows out there, and I want to try them all and see what they're all about. I did, when I started bow fishing, I started off with the Alpine Mako. It's a cam, it's got cams, you know, on the limbs, and it's a regular cam bow. And I gotta be honest, I shot with those things for about 3 years, and I just never had confidence when I was shooting those bows. I have shot some big fish with them. You'll see that guy there. But I just never really gained the confidence when I was out that I knew for a fact when I was drawing and aiming at a fish that I was going to hit that fish. I just never gained that confidence with that bow. And so I decided I wanted to try the lever bow. I went with the RPM Nitro and immediately started gaining that confidence with that lever bow. The lever bows are so smooth. It's just so impressive, the smoothness of these bows. And I think when you're bow fishing, that you're shooting fast. You don't have time to draw the bow, aim at your target, release. It's a snapshot most of the time, and it has to be smooth and fluid. You get that smooth and fluid action with a lever bow. And so when I went with the RPM Nitro, I started to gain that, and I started to gain confidence. But again, I wanted to try a different bow. So at that point, I was like, okay, I have two options now that I've tried the RPM. I could try an Oneida, or I could go with the GNAT, from Joey Greenwell. And honestly, the reason that I went with this one is very simple. It's customizable. You call up Joey, or you get on their website, and you can customize all the colors. This bow here, I went with the white and the green. It's got like a green cryptic camo inlaid in the white. Everything is white with a green, neon green cryptic camo. Green finger slicks, white and green bow or bowstring, neon green cables. So that was really the reason that I went ahead and went with this bow, because my Nitro, I had it hydro dipped. I had shot it for a year. After I had it for a year, I had it hydro dipped, and I wanted to continue with that custom paint job on a bow, but I wanted to get it right from the factory that way. They offer that. Joey Greenwell offers that, and so that's why I went with this bow. But man, I just couldn't be more happy with the performance of this bow. Not only does it look cool, but the performance of this bow, to me, the performance does outweigh the RPM Nitro. RPM does have the striker. I haven't shot it. I think that it's probably just as good, as the Nitro, but I feel like this GNAT definitely outperforms the RPM Nitro. Again, nothing against RPM. They are a solid bow. Love those guys over there. Josh over at Nitro, or over at RPM. He's a great dude, great service. Nothing against them. Right now, I do prefer this bow. My son just started shooting an Oneida last year. We bought him a brand new Osprey, and he hasn't shot it a lot. I don't get a lot of time on the water with him, but I will say he's right-handed and I'm left-handed, so it's hard for me to get a real accurate difference between the two. But just the little bit that I've shot his Osprey, I don't like it as well as I like my GNAT. Now, I do think I might need to do a little more tuning on that Osprey. I know there's a lot of guys out there. This is probably going to piss a lot of guys off. I'm going to get a lot of hate mail for this, probably saying, that I have a problem with the Osprey or whatever. I don't have a problem with them. I think they're probably an amazing bow. Obviously they are. They sell tons of them. And it seems like everybody uses them, and that's great. For me, right now, man, I love my GNAT from Joey Greenwell. So, honestly, there's just not that much to say about the bow itself because it's so simplistic. The one thing that I'm going to give a complaint. I do have a complaint about the GNAT. When you get these bows, they come in a box. It's just a box. There's really no labeling on it. It doesn't say GNAT or nothing on it. You open the box up and there's no literature, nothing. You open the box up, you pull out the bow, right? And to me, I really would love to see them step their game up on that somehow. Put some literature in there, maybe, I don't know, something. Put something else with the bow. And the main thing was, I wanted to know how to adjust to this bow. Obviously, screwing the limb bolts down is going to increase your poundage, right? That's pretty obvious. But I didn't know, like, if I wanted to change my draw length or something of that nature, I had no idea how to do that, because the cables, there's the saddles, there's 2 saddles on each side here, and there's 5 grooves in each saddle. I have no idea what each one of those grooves does to the way the bow handles. No idea. And there's no literature to explain it. And so I placed some messages to Joey over at G Strings, and I never got a reply on that, on how to do that. On Facebook, some people were talking about that, and nobody ever gets a reply about how to adjust these bows. And so that is a point of frustration, I'm not gonna lie. 2 days ago, I just called over to the shop there, and actually Joey picked up the phone, and I explained to him, you know, I like to tear my bows apart, and I might want to adjust, excuse me, I might want to adjust it a little bit, and was wondering if he could help me understand that process a little bit. And he did, and what I came to understand is that when you order this bow, you give him your draw length and the weight that you want it to be, and he sets it up according to that. And if you need it adjusted very far outside of that, you may have to get into changing the power limbs. You can adjust these a little bit, but you just really, there's not a lot of adjustment other than turning your limb bolts in or out, you know, to increase or decrease your poundage a little bit. I went with the 40 pound max, so obviously if I screwed my limb bolts all the way in, I'm gonna have 40 pounds. You can start letting them out, you know, and get it down to, I'm not even sure exactly how far you would go down safely with this, but you know, obviously that's how you would decrease the string pressure. But as far as adjusting the cables in the saddles, basically what Joey told me is, if you take these cables and you move them towards the riser, what you're going to be doing is you're going to increase the poundage and you're going to increase the draw length. So as you go in, you're increasing the capability of the poundage and you're increasing that draw length. And then in reverse, if you move it back towards the back of the bow, towards the string, you would be decreasing the poundage and decreasing the draw length. Now, what he did say is you got to be pretty careful, because if you get these strings, or I'm sorry, if you get these cables too close together, if you get the front and the back cables too close together, when you draw that bow, it will actually stay back and not shoot forward. You'll draw it, you'll let go, and the limbs will just stay cocked. And you can imagine how bad of a situation that would be, right? So he said, if you're going to start adjusting on it, be damn careful with those things, and just try not to get those cables too close together when you're adjusting on those saddles. So so basically, the way I'm dealing with it is, Joey set it up to what I said. I love the way it shoots. I'm just gonna note where they're at, where these cables are at in the saddle. When I take it apart to clean it and maintenance it, I'm gonna put her back the same way it was. But if you want to mess with it a little bit, just those are a few things that he told me that I think a lot of guys out there might not understand. Cables towards the riser, things go up. Draw length goes up, poundage goes up. Move them back, does the exact opposite. I don't know if that helps anybody out there, but that's the information that I got straight from Joey. So hopefully that'll help people out a little bit. And basically he just said, you know, it's kind of complicated, and unless you truly understand and know how to work on these, your best bet is to just leave it like he said it and not mess with it a whole lot. But go ahead and call Joey. I mean, he had no problem explaining it to me over the phone, and I think that might be why they don't really put any literature out on that. It's just because of the complexity of it. Unless you truly understand the mechanics and mathematics behind these things, you shouldn't be messing with it probably. But give Joey a call on that. He helped me out. So anyways, again, my review of this bow is I love it. I absolutely love the GNAT. A lot of people, I've got some buddies that shoot the G-Rex, and they also have the GNATs, and they say that the G-Rex shoots even smoother and even better than the GNAT. But again, the G-Rex is a cammed lever bow. And so that was the thing I wanted to stay away from, was stay away from the cams. And but I have no doubt I'll probably end up with a G-Rex one of these days. But man, for right now, absolutely love my GNAT. Nothing but good things to say about the bow itself. It's super, super smooth. It has increased my my confidence. Just shooting this bow has made me so much more confident. When I see a fish and I draw back and I release, man, I pretty well know I'm gonna hit that fish, or I know right away I'm not gonna hit that fish. But man, I just have a lot more confidence that I'm going to hit what I'm aiming at. So man, if you have any questions or any thoughts or anything, drop me a comment down there. Right now, I don't have anything else to say about the GNAT. I am going to put out a review of the Muzzy tournament reel seat. I went with the Muzzy tournament reel seat, and honestly, my first impression of that wasn't the greatest. Now that I've had this thing on here for a year, I want to give a review of just that standalone piece. So be looking for that here in the next few weeks. I'll get that video done. But for now, guys, hey, it's cold here in Iowa. We're still waiting on things to warm up a little bit. But when we start getting back out, we're gonna have more videos. And above all else, don't forget the butt plug.